Hi, I'm Mark, and this is Foothill Paint and Fabrication. Today we're going to get on the bed for that 1950 Chevy pickup. It's in really great shape for being 70 years old, but it does have some issues that we're going to have to address. We're going to have to straighten some stuff out, knock some dings out here and there before we can move on to prep for paint. So let's just jump right into this thing. We'll do a quick walk around and then get to work. Okay, as you can see, I've got the bed up on a rack with wheels. Dave, a buddy of mine across the road, he built his wheelies on this, and he loaned it to me for this project, which is going to help out a lot. We're going to use it for the bed and for the cab, because the cab's coming off the chassis as well. So I've got it, there's a couple legs here on the back. With a 2x4, I put a 2x4 spacer and screwed it down to there. And then on the other end, all I did was round up a couple of pieces of steel, cut them to length, and put a couple of tabs on them, and then the bed is now bolted down right where it would normally bolt to the chassis. So it's on here secure, it's not going to move. You can see here, this is the brand new piece the owner bought, replaced the rusted out one, it's bolted in. That's going to have to come off because we have to paint behind it, and then we can bolt it back together and paint the whole thing at once. We want to make sure we get paint behind where it's all clamped together and bolted together. So it's got some damage to it, but the first thing we really did was roll it outside and mixed up some ammonia and some dish soap and some hot water, grabbed a scrubby and just scrubbed this thing 2 or 3 times really well to make sure we got all the wax, grease, dirt, oils, everything off of it, and then pressure washed it 2 or 3 times so it's really clean, ready to go. We shouldn't have to worry about contamination. It has some damage. Each one of the rails on the corners right here, these were kind of pushed down a little bit, and that happens with people jumping in and out of the truck and putting all their weight right on the corner, and then, you know, just over time it just bends a little bit at a time. I've already fixed all 3. The 4th one, the worst one, I saved for last. There's some dents in the panel here that we're going to have to work on, but let's just get started on getting this last corner fixed, and we'll zoom in here a little bit and let you see it. So I don't know if you can tell, but this is rolled down this way, and then there's also a dent in it, and it's not round anymore. So let's go ahead and get started on that, and then we'll move over to the dents. Okay, when I was messing around trying to figure out how I was going to bend all these back up without destroying, putting a flat spot on here from pushing on it, I dug around and I found this piece of EMT, and it slides right in there, just barely fits inside there. It won't fit right now because there's a kink in it right here, a dent, it's flat spot. So the plan is we're just going to take a socket, have a bigger, deeper socket. I'm going to slide that up in there. I got an extension on it so I can pull, and I'm just going to hit it with a hammer and then try to get that up out of there enough so I can get this tube in there, and then we'll see what we can do about getting this nice and round again. Then we're going to pull this whole thing up with a porta power and get it straightened out. Okay, let's see if we can get this bent back up. So I'm just going to hit on the socket, but I'm going to pull up on the extension at the same time. That did the trick right there. So we've got that rounded out. Now we're going to move over and hook up the porta power, and we'll talk about how I figured how to do that and the way it's going to actually work to get this straight. Okay, the first step was to secure the bed to the frame, because I'm going to be pushing on the frame itself, not from the bed to the bed. And I only have it screwed down. I mean, it's just got wood screws holding it down to keep it from, you know, moving around. So I put a ratchet strap on it. I put the ratchet strap through the tailgate where the chain latch hooks, and that's nice and secure. It's double wall steel right here, actually 3 layers right here, and then I just went down to the steel frame, tighten this ratchet strap up real tight, and that way I know it's not going to lift the bed off the rack. Now if this was on the truck, I could probably just go straight to the ground because the truck weighs enough, and we're really not putting all that much force on this to bend it back. The porta power's not going to have to push very hard. So let's get the porta power set up on here, and then I'll show you, you know, how we're going to get this straightened out. Okay, here's a quick view of the porta power setup. So I have it pushed onto a piece of steel that slid inside the tube of the rack, and then all the way up, and it's pushing on that piece of conduit that slid inside the hole in the bed. And then we're just going to push on that and do a little hammering. So I'm going to zoom in tight, and then we'll see if we can't get this thing straightened out. Okay, we've got it set. So the idea is to reverse the order that this dent or bend went into it. So we're going to be pushing straight up this way and kind of a little bit away. So we're kind of pulling at the same time as we're going up. So I'm going to go ahead and use my foot on the porta power and just kind of push a little bit. You can see it start to rise there. We're not going to get carried away. It's starting to come up, and we're trying to put some pressure on it. So when I tap on it, we're going to overshoot just a little bit. There's a little bit, it's actually higher than the rest of the bed. I can see it rolling up here. I'm going to put a little bit more pressure on it. This one's worse than the other three. The other three actually came out fairly easily. Then what we're going to do, we have to get this kink out of here, and that's a fairly heavy brace right there, but this isn't going to want to stay if I just hit it or just push up and let go. So we're going to have to tap on that a little bit. I'm just going to use a block of wood for now. If I have to get heavier, I'll do that. I can always move to just using the body hammer. But we're going to smack this a couple of times really hard. And what that does is it releases that metal. So I can feel that it's already starting to flatten out a little bit. We're looking pretty good. Now we got a little dip here. I'm going to take that out with pressure on here as well. But we're starting to feel pretty good, like it wants to be straight. We still got a little dinger there, so I'm going to hit that again. The reason I use a block is because I'm trying to move a large area at the same time. If I have to, I can switch over and just tap on it little by little, but we're going to do that one thing at a time. So now with pressure still on it, I'm going to want to get in here with a crescent wrench or something to try to get this little dip out of here. I don't want to do it without pressure on here because I'm trying to pull and stretch this back to shape. So at the same time, I want to start working the dents out while I have that pressure on there. So I'm reaching in. It's just a crescent wrench, but it allows me to bend up without having to hammer on it. And if you can bend instead of hammer, it's always better. So we'll just eyeball that. Still got a little dip in it. This is kind of a small crescent wrench, so it allows me to get in there pretty tight and try to get that. And if I overshoot, I can't really hammer up because of this tight spot right here. But if I overshoot a little bit, I can always tap it back down straight. So always keep that in mind. Got some rust underneath there. So we're looking pretty good. I've overshot a little bit right here, trying to get this corner up. So I'm going to pull up inside there a little bit, put a little twist on it while I do it. Put another crescent wrench on this one and just twist it. Try to get that corner out of there. There we go. That helped a little bit. Looking at it, it looks pretty straight. We're a little high right there. We're just going to tap that down. Eyeball it again. And that's looking pretty good. Now we're feeling pretty flat, but I still got a little bit of a high ridge right here from this brace for the pocket. So I'm going to go ahead and tap that down while I still have pressure with the porta power on here. And that looks pretty good. All right, let's release the porta power and see how we did. Now if you noticed, it came down, but remember I had pushed a little farther than I wanted to, knowing that it was going to spring back. So looking down the rail, let me stick my head in the way here. Looking down the rail, this is nice and flat now. I don't see a bow in it, a dip or anything, so we pretty much fixed that. There's a little bit, it's not perfectly round right here, but it may not be on the others. I'll have to check that out. So this actually looks really good right here. We might have a little high spot, so I need to push up right here and tap down right there. And we'll go ahead and do that right now. So I'll just take my hand, lift up, and then instead of using the sharp end, we're going to use the flat. And that took it out. We're back to round. That quick. So we took all four of them. The other three were actually easier than this one. And we got them all back flattened out real nice, and it looks good. There's some heavy spot welds on here. I'll probably fill those so it looks nice. This is a driver, so I have to keep reminding myself, try not to make it perfect, just get it straightened out and get it painted. But that repair is really quick. And it can't happen that easy with just a porta power. I could have used this pipe in here and like a long 2x4 and pried up against it and lifted up while I did my hammering, or if someone could help you. You don't have to have a porta power. You could use a bottle jack and a 2x4. Doesn't really matter as long as you can lift up and put the right amount of pressure in the right direction and then do your hammering and you're done. All right, that wraps up this video on how to straighten the upper bed rails when they get rolled over a little bit. We knocked this out with a piece of EMT conduit, a porta power, hammer, block of wood, a crescent wrench, and a ratchet strap. So it doesn't take a lot of exotic tools. I could have used a bottle jack and a 2x4 to knock this out, or jammed a floor jack in there somehow. So you don't need a lot of cool tools to do this work. You just got to figure out how to make it work with what you got, and then make a plan and go for it. So thanks for joining me here at Foothill Paint and Fabrication. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and mash that bell icon so you get notifications every time I release a new video.